a quality rimfire that just about any budget can afford. About 8 months ago, I decided to set out and do just that. And I got this thing one piece at a time, just like a Johnny Cash song. So if you've got an extra X amount of money, you order the stock. X amount of money, you order the receiver. X amount of money, you order the barrel. And that's exactly what I went ahead and did. I went through all of the steps to procure all the parts. There was no layaway involved, minimal saving, and this thing has wound up checking off all of my marks. This 1022 has just proven to knock eyeballs out, man. Everywhere I go, everybody I hand this thing to, they just freaking fall in love with it. That blue carbon fiber barrel, dadgummit. And guess what? That blue carbon fiber barrel at current pricing is $240. That's not bad, right? So the rest of this thing can be put together rather inexpensively, and I'm about to detail how. So first and foremost, we have to start with a receiver. That receiver that I chose was a Faxon FF22. It is a billet receiver. It has a billet machined rail right in the top of it. This thing is integral, and it's going to last a really long time. So then I went to Summit Precision. I grabbed a Summit Precision blue carbon fiber barrel, the 16-inch version. It's threaded half 28, which checked off another list that I wanted. I wanted this thing to be suppressed. So that half 28 threading was perfect. And now what I want you to see is the thread protector. Look at how closely machined and how tight. That thread protector blends right in. You literally have to go ahead and start unthreading it to see where it breaks. So of course with any 1022 you're going to need a trigger group. I went to Volquartsen. Now Volquartsen makes a really nice trigger group. It wasn't exactly the cheapest thing, but like I said, that's the beauty of this project, is you can put this thing together as you can afford it. So this Volquartsen trigger group, it breaks very nicely. It has a really nice reset. I also chose to go with a Volquartsen competition bolt. That Volquartsen competition bolt has got a beautiful, it's a black chrome finish, and I mean it is a mirror finish. That Volquartsen bolt just looks gorgeous. They did a couple of different things. The recoil spring and the guide rod are a little bit different. The charging handle is a little bit different, but boy, did they rethink it and rethink it right.
It's pretty, but the real question is, how well does it shoot?
Alright, so here we go. Now the first few rounds I'm going to be kind of forgiving on. You can see I did have one that went a little crazy. With rimfire, you've got to let that barrel kind of get a little bit of seasoning. Let the lube and lead start getting in there. So this one's a little crazy. This was the next group, and this was the next group of the SK. Now that's looking pretty good. But of course, freaking Lapua, the Center X, is freaking magic. That stuff works great in my Voodoo, works great here. Now I do have a little bit of a correction to make. I do need to drop this down just a little bit, and then I am going to do my favorite thing, and I am going to plink on some shotgun shells. You see them right there? Ha ha ha. I love plinking shotgun shells. There we go. Pretty much dead center hits. Freaking love it. So right here is a screw. I'm curious how many rounds it's going to take me to pick off this screw. Picked off a wood screw at 50 yards. I'm cool with that. So I found a 45 AARP projectile laying on the ground. Let's see how many rounds it takes to knock it off. And now for the Optic, I wanted to get the biggest bang for the buck that I could. Now, of course, this Arkin SH4 Gen 2, this thing came with the bubble level, the throw lever, it came with the caps. I mean, it came with the whole 9 yards. I even got a little sandbag that goes underneath here. I just haven't filled it with sand yet. But yeah, I got the whole deal. It came with a patch and a sticker and everything else. And man, these turrets, listen to this. Man, for the price, those turrets are solid. I don't have, well, actually, let me correct. The only other Optic that I have that has turrets that correct is an Arkin. I've got one of their older EP4s, and I dig it. With a 22, you can achieve some ridiculous accuracy if you got a pretty big piece of glass on this thing. So you can really sit and study your shots, study your breathing, study your heartbeat, and you can pick off tiny little targets and do it all day long. I know one day I was at a range with my buddy and I had my voodoo, and my buddy, he had stopped shooting. I didn't know why he had stopped shooting, but what I had was a white piece of paper, and the horseflies were so attracted to that piece of paper for some reason. I don't know if it was the color, if it smelled good to them, or what. But I was waiting on those horseflies to land, and I was just sitting there picking them off, picking them off, picking them off. And then my buddy Josh was just sitting there next to me. He was sitting there watching them in his scope. I picked one off, and he says, "Oh, that was a fat one." I looked over and I said, "You watching me shoot horseflies?" He said, "Dude, I've watched you shoot the last 8 or 10 of them." He said, "That's freaking hilarious." Now, as for the stock, I went with a Magpul stock for the Ruger 1022. I chose gray because I knew it was going to contrast beautifully with that blue. That blue carbon fiber barrel was going to look so good with the gray. So I went with it, and it has 2 trays in the front of it. You can actually flip the tray upside down for a skinny barrel, flip it the other way over for a heavy profile barrel. This being a 920 barrel, it fit in there just fine. And of course, speaking of barrel, Summit Precision makes this barrel. I gave $240 for this barrel of my own money, and dadgummit, would I do it again. Of course, I wanted this thing to be very, very accurate, but I didn't want it to be heavy. So lots of bull barrels add a ton of weight, if you think about it. A .920 inch chunk of stainless steel or whatever metal they're making this thing out of is hefty. Well, this one actually has a skinny barrel wrapped in carbon fiber to give its rigidity. That carbon fiber keeps it lightweight and keeps the thing stiff. And so far, I am loving it. Now, I do plan on using this thing out in the field quite a bit, and every good field rifle needs a good bipod. Of course, I went with a Swagger SEA-12. You can see I've got a pick rail mounted right underneath there to the M-lock slots that are underneath. And this thing mounts very securely. It doesn't add a lot of weight. And now let's see if I can do this left-handed. When you're out in the field, you might actually, there we go, need a little bit of preload to set yourself up on. And you can see this is a broken piece of wood. That is very unsteady. That SEA-12 adjusts from 9 inches to 12 inches and gives you plenty of flex. And of course, it stows at a 90 degree when not needed. So now the big camera battery died, so I'm just going to finish this off with a cell phone. I guess that's the beautiful part of it. We are not left without a video. So now I took this thing to the range, and I had an absolute blast. I forgot my big ammo selection, and I only took 2 ammos, and I guess it was a good thing because I wound up settling just on the Lapua Center X. The Lapua Center X absolutely worked, man. It works in my voodoo, it works in this thing, so if it works in both of those, I guess I'm just going to have to sell my soul and buy a brick of Lapua. So now this thing did not come in at an absolute budget price, but it did come in at a price that many of you can afford, because the cool thing is when you do layaway, you pay for a little bit of it at a time. Well, this actually gives you instant gratification while you pay for a little bit of it at a time. You know, the stock was like, I think 124 shipped, something like that. So you got an extra 124 bucks, grab the thing. You know, the bolt came in at, I think 179, grab it. The trigger group came in at around $3, you grab it. That Arkin came in, blah, 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 blah. You can sit there and just grab, piece at a time. So this is absolutely something that you could put together at home. The reason that I did not just want to buy a 1022, I mean, there's what, 1,400 flavors of 1022? I decided that I wanted to take control of all of it. I had my list of what I wanted to do, and that is what I set out to do. The aftermarket is so huge, and it seems like the parts that I picked have absolutely worked together. That's one thing you just kind of expected. I expected a little bit of some incompatibility because, I don't know, what are there, like 8 different manufacturers or something? I ain't even counting. There's a lot of different manufacturers on there, and they all jive, so that is really cool. But anyway, please let me know if you want me to do more stuff like this. Just drop a comment down below, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. I love you, and I love my new rimfire. Given how Alright guys, I'm not getting paid for this. This shirt, I thought it was hilarious. I bought it with my own money from MaryPoppins556.com, and it just seems appropriate with all of these new laws and everything they're trying to propose become ungovernable.